When I was a kid, I would spend all of my busboy money at the record store. It was this magical place where the Beatles would try and sound like Little Richard, and Aretha Franklin would cover Simon and Garfunkel, and it felt like this common language that we all shared, no matter where you were from. Fast forward to 2018, and it feels like the only languages afforded to us are hatred and war and anger and bitterness and fear. And I hold my infant son in the middle of the night, and I'm reminded that there is a language much deeper than fear, and that all of us share so much in common, that beneath these layers, we have this common language that was given to us by our parents, our step-parents, our foster parents, our adopted parents. However imperfect they might have been, they spent hours with us, loving us into being. And we share a common tongue much deeper than fear, much deeper than doubt. Hatred is not your native tongue. Love is your native tongue.
Sing to me, baby, in your native tongue. We are here at Dare You to Podcast, episode 3. Today we are diving into native tongue. This is a Switchfoot fan podcast hosted by myself, Zach, here with my guy Chase. Episode 3, we're rolling. We're cranking them out. You know, we are doing the podcast. It did not stop with episode 1.
That's right.
We are continuing to roll. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for all the love support on the first 2 episodes, Forever Now and Interrobang. Really proud of those episodes, Chase, and just how we talk about Switchfoot and those records, and really pumped to talk about this one today. Chase, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, my friend. I am...
We both have seen a new Spider-Man film, which is always great.
I got home very late last night and did not get as much sleep because of said Spider-Man film, but so worth it. So
yes,
I'll try to not make this a Spider-Man podcast episode.
So what we need to do is for the Where the Light Shines Through episode, which it will be the first episode with a guest. I feel like we have to do Spider-Man talk on that episode, given the nature of the 3 people that will be on that podcast and how the group chat started. Like, we have to, I feel like we have to do a little Spider-Man talk. Hopefully Jared gets around to seeing it. Yeah. Spoiler alert for our guest for the next episode. Hopefully he gets around to seeing it, and then, you know, we can chat about Spider-Man on the next episode.
I'm sure it would have gotten brought up whether we tried to or not. So,
yes. Always love when there's a new Spider-Man.
Better to prepare.
TVs. Yes. And today we are flashing all the way back to 2019. It's so interesting doing the podcast the way we're doing it, where we started with the newest album and we're going backwards, where I feel like I am going, literally time traveling back in time and reliving these records and thinking about who I was in 2018, 2019, and 2021 with Interrobang. And so it's just been a really fascinating journey, rediscovering some of these records and going back and literally feeling like I'm going back in time. And so
it's so much fun when you listen to an album and then like you just start to see the places you were, and you hear things and you like smell things. And it's like literally you're transported back and like, oh man, I was here doing that. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's great. And speaking of native tongue, as I was listening to it over and over the last couple weeks, I realized that this was probably the album I was least familiar with front to back, overall. And so it felt like I was listening to it for the first time in a lot of ways, and just, it was a really fascinating journey. But I have some specific memories with Native Tongue, the song, where I can remember driving in with my dad, probably the rest of my family too, but we were on our way to dinner at some Mexican restaurant, and I can just remember playing Native Tongue like for the first time, the song. Hannah thinks I'm crazy. My wife thinks I'm crazy when I can just pull memories like that. It's really only memories associated with art, like music, movies, like all that sort of stuff. But yeah, summer 2019, listening to Native Tongue, the song, just total blast. And so I felt like I got to discover the album for the first time in a lot of ways too. But Chase, what were you up to in 2018, 2019? What was Chase like back then, flashing back 7 years?
Yeah, so I was close to being done with my first stint of Bible college. I had just moved back to my home state of Kentucky, had lived out of state for about 10 years, and had just moved back. And I remember one of the things I was most frequently doing while I was adjusting to my new job in my new old town. I was listening to a lot of 21 Pilots, who had just
Yes.
recently released Trench,
Great album.
which is a great
All-timer.
record from them. And I just remember Switchfoot announces a new album, and then they drop that first single, and then the theme color is yellow, just like Trench was. I was like, perfect. I've already got all kinds of yellow duct tape on everything. And but then for me, it was kind of like all right, 21 Pilots, you have to sit back down. The Kings are releasing, so it's time to obsess over Switchfoot again.
I love that. I was in Bible college at the time as well. And let's see, I was doing an internship in Knoxville. I think that year, 2019, did an internship in Maryland where I'm living now. And 2019 was just a really special year, like great movie year for me personally, like really got into movies that year and a lot of really good music. And I think back to 2019 very fondly, not just because of its pre-COVID, like that was like the before. Yeah. And so, I have a lot of fondness for that year, for just that season of life that I was in. And and this album came and it went for me. I did not have the same experience you did where you were like, the Kings are here and I'm ready to dive in. For whatever reason, this album just kind of passed me by. Like I had heard all of these songs before, but it wasn't as like ingrained in me as even something like Interrobang was, in a lot of ways. And so, Native Tongue. There's a lot as we kind of get into some of the things surrounding the record, that doing a lot of research and watching a lot of videos and just seeing how the album came about. I think in a lot of ways, kind of just as fascinating as Interrobang for me, as I'm like digging into like all the little things kind of surrounding it and the time period. One, in December 2017, Switchfoot announced a touring hiatus. Okay, so I was going back through the archives. Yes, going back through the archives. 2017, they announced a hiatus. In that time, between 2017 and when the first single came out, I think in 2018 maybe.
Late
2018. John had a kid in there. He referenced the infant son in the video. And for most bands, a hiatus does last longer than a year.
And for most bands, the lead singer doesn't necessarily go on a solo tour during their touring hiatus.
During their hiatus.
But I saw that tour and it was a good show. Yes.
It's very, most bands that go on hiatus don't come back as quickly or at all. So just a very, little tidbit there. You take a little break, but then for most bands, that wasn't really a break. They had an album come out less than 2 years after the hiatus. 3 years after Where the Light Shines Through, their previous album they had just they put out. And here they are. They're back, new music, all sorts of new stuff. And getting into some of the key collaborators that influenced how this record sounds and why it is the way that it is. Every single song on this album is produced by the Foreman Brothers. This is a change from the two records we've already looked at, and the records we will look at. There's this album that is entirely produced by them, and I think you can feel that a little bit in just some of the influences and the way some of these songs sound, and I think you can feel the Foreman Brothers-ness of this record, which is just really fascinating. Every single song on this album has the produced by the Foreman Brothers credit on the aforementioned liner notes in the vinyl.
And how every song, it seems that at least all the in-house parts that Switchfoot recorded, everything was recorded in their own home studio.
Yes.
They call it Melody League Studios.
Yep.
I think you pointed this out to me. There's in the final song, it appears that they recorded on a piano in John and Tim's parents' house.
Yes.
Which is neat and
So
sentimental.
Cool. So cool.
And then there are some guest features and co-writes in there that I think recorded some additional elements elsewhere, but kind of cool to know that at least as far as the main line of it, Switchfoot recorded everything in their own home studio, which again was very different from the previous / newer records we've talked about in the past couple weeks.
Oh, absolutely. Pulling this from an album trailer they had put out before the album came out. In the trailer, it's about 90 seconds. There are words that flash on the screen, like big, like they want you to see this. These are the words that flash throughout the trailer: doubts, fear, rejection, mediocrity, risks, change, and beautiful. And they reference the album as the most diverse album we've ever made in this trailer as well. And so those words just stuck out to me, one, because John references them a lot in the video that we played at the top. But also, I do think that those words do sum up a lot of the way this album feels, and some of the risks that they're taking, some of the doubts that they're tackling, some of the they're not striving for mediocrity. They're taking big risks, like all those sorts of things. And I think those words really sum up in a lot of ways the way that this record feels, the way it sounds, and just a little bit of insight, even in just those words that flash on a screen for like half a second. I was like, oh, I think there's something insightful there that they're trying to tell me. And the way that they talk about this album, even before it came out, I just found that to be a little bit of a insight into kind of where the album was heading, even before it officially like released to the world. And I've got to take, at least I had to take on this album before I listened to it for this podcast, was that I had referred to this album as their Imagine Dragons album, which I must say, my 2019 self that had that take is wrong. It is not their Imagine Dragons album. It is their One Republic album, though.
Yes. That is accurate.
That is my actual take after soaking in this record for a couple weeks, because we talk about key collaborators. We talked about how this whole album is produced by the Foreman Brothers. However, there are some additional producers and songwriters and collaborators who are involved on a lot of these songs, and they almost exclusively have ties to One Republic. Let me pull.
Hey guys, we want to try some things. You want to help us out? Yeah.
We've got Brent Kutzel, who's the bassist for One Republic, involved in a few of these songs. Ryan Tedder is involved on officially credited on voices. And Tyler Spry, who is a key collaborator and I believe just kind of a studio presence for One Republic as well. And so One Republic is all over this record in a lot of different places. And seeing those names in the credits and like putting all those puzzle pieces together, I had the light bulb moment where I was like, no, this isn't Imagine Dragons. This is the One Republic record. This is and what's cool is if like you listen to it, the whole album front to back, and you just kind of like pause and try to guess and tell yourself, yep, this one has One Republic thumbprint on it. You look at the credits, it's like you can easily spot the ones that they're part of. They kind of stand out from the rest of the record. They do. And there's some other fun like collaborators on here. Bear Reinhardt, lead singer Need to Breathe, is credited, I believe, on, I can't remember which song now. I did have it written down. I think it's on the back half. Oh, let me pull it up here. The Strength to Let Go. He is credited on. Yeah. And then Tanner Sparks, who's worked with Switchfoot on Fading West, Where the Light Shines Through, John's solo stuff, and also a random Weezer credit in there too. And so, a whole list of collaborators beyond just like the Foreman Brothers. Obviously, every single song produced by them, but then there's all these other collaborators that come into. And so we've had this One Republic album that's here, and we also have some more Beatles stuff going on. We also have classic Switchfoot stuff going on. We've got some EDM going on. We've got some like it's very very diverse record. They said it. This
Yeah.
is the most diverse
Yeah.
album we've ever made. And yeah, anything that you noted, or like thinking back to 2019, 2018, 2019, as you soaked in the record, or anything surrounding it that kind of sticks out, or that you remember?
Yeah, I mean, lots of nostalgia for me. I think 2019, they went on a crazy run for touring. I can get into that here in a little bit, maybe. But I think you pointed this out to me the other day when we were texting about this album. But every song was written by the Foreman Brothers, plus a couple songs with co-writes from some One Republic guys, except track one, which is just J4.
Yep.
So I may have spoiled that. That may have been
No.
you may have been something you were going to say when we get to the track by track. But I think that that's really interesting. So the rest of the album, very collaborative, especially within the band. But then track one, we're going to open the record with just what John has to say. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Speaking of Let It Happen, so on the vinyl, I have the 2 LP edition. I don't know if they're all that way, but it's got side A, side B, side C, side D. Side A was entirely released before the album came out as singles. So the singles were the first 4 songs. Let It Happen, Native Tongue, All I Need, and Voices, being the 4 singles, which I do feel like gives a little bit of insight to how the album sounds, but then also I don't feel like the rest of the album sounds like the first 4 songs either. So, very fascinating single choices, I think. But
definitely.
I think also maybe a little ahead of the times, where we're at right now, where I feel like bands release just the first 4 songs off their album as singles, and I feel like there's nothing for me to discover until I get to track 5 or whatever.
Yeah. So when
which
the
could
whole
be a little
album comes
frustrating.
out, you just kind of jump ahead.
Yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
that is interesting.
Yeah. So having those songs as the first 4 singles, we've mentioned a lot of the collaborators already. I think it sets us up well for our track by track discussion of Native Tongue, all caps. I will say, as we get into the track by track stuff, also noting we went from all lowercase to all uppercase album to album. So this one's very loud. Very loud. We're all uppercase here. You and Jared had mentioned, like, if you had to put like an album that collects the songs from the last 3 records, what songs would you pick and why? And I didn't have any Native Tongue stuff on there, and Jared had noted that. And I do think my opinion on this album has changed over the last couple of weeks, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about that as we go to the track by track and kind of what happened as I was listening to this. And so let's just hop in track by track. We got track 1, which is Let It Happen. And what turned me on to this song actually was Jared's inclusion of it in his the 3 albums. If you had to make one album combining all 3 albums, what songs would make it? What would?
Yeah.
And he had Let It Happen on there, and I was like, oh, I really gotta revisit that one. And yeah, immediately just an awesome opener for a Switchfoot album. It feels very Switchfoot in the guitars.
Feels very Switchfoot.
In the guitars and in the melodies, and just an immediate standout. It was way better than I really even remembered it. You mentioned John having the only writing credit on here. But yeah, it just sounds super Switchfoot in a really cool way. Very in line with Beloved and I would say Wake Up Mr. Crow and Holy Water and some of their more recent album openers where you're just like, track 1 is awesome. Like, it's
very
really
loud.
Yeah.
It greets you, not aggressively, but maybe aggressively, if lack of a better term.
Yes. Very twinkly too, in a fun way, which is great. And then you got the kind of the key change on the chorus into the bridge in kind of a Beatles way. And ever since I heard that clip of John talking about Interrobang being very Beatley, I just find the Beatles stuff like everywhere now when I listen to their stuff, which is really fun.
I remember, I don't remember, I think this may have been an Interrobang era interview, but they were talking about, like, you know, a fan asked them, like, when you go to record an album, Like, do you listen to music? Do you listen to other music?
Mhm.
Or do you like try to off all of that so you're not accidentally influenced? And they said basically they were like, you definitely limit the music that you're taking in,
Yeah.
or you get more selective about it. But then Tim Foreman said, one album I will never not listen to is Abbey Road. So, I mean, Tim Foreman's openly always going to be influenced by the Beatles. So,
Yeah.
they're going to steal stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, just an awesome opener for the album, and one that was super fun to revisit. And I was always excited to hit play or drop the needle on this record because of this song. Like, it is such a cool way to open it. Did you see it live? Did they play it live?
I did.
You've seen it live?
They opened the Native Tongue tour with this song.
Yeah.
They had LED walls, which is not something they do a lot on tour.
Sure.
So there were kind of like some flashing, like graphics, like radio static and glitch graphics stuff happening, and then it cuts to this countdown, and then it goes black, and then the twinkles start to play, then the band comes out, and then they walk on stage. And I remember John came out. He had been accustomed to playing like these big, like hollow body, center block guitars. And then he comes out with just a single cutaway, like Les Paul looking guitar. And he had painted the words Native Tongue on it in typical John fashion.
Yep.
And I just remember like staring at it. I saw this tour twice. The first time was at the Millen Mine in Knoxville.
Nice.
Where
Great
we had
venue.
both seen Switchfoot on another tour.
Yep.
And I just remember being like, this is insane. So, and just funny bit of Chase lore, because of that, I bought the exact model guitar that he played on that tour. I didn't paint the words Native Tongue on it, but that tour alone made me become obsessed with Gretsch guitars.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a really cool sounding, unique guitar, there's my unofficial endorsement of Gretsch.
I love that. So you saw it in Knoxville. Where was your other tour stop?
Nashville.
Nashville. Sweet.
So funny, there was a three night run. They played Knoxville, then Atlanta, then Nashville, February 13th, 14th, and 15th, I think it was. And they recorded some of the show in Atlanta and released it as a live EP. I was like, that was sandwiched right between two shows that I saw. I couldn't have managed to be at the one they recorded, but I was at the other. So, but
that's cool.
Definitely. And in Nashville, it was at the Ryman. It was actually my first time ever seeing a show at the Ryman, and it's as magical as they say it is if you've never been to a show there.
I haven't, but I was supposed to. Some more group chat lore where we were supposed to see Coin, RIP, at the Ryman. Literally, March 10th, 2020, something like that? It
was like a week after COVID shut down concerts.
Yeah. It was like the first thing to get canceled.
They had to cancel. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm sure that will come up again when we have our guest on next episode. So, man,
that was
sad,
devastating.
The Ryman is worth it, I think, to go see a show in at least once, especially if it's a band you're into.
Yeah. All right. Anything else from you on Let It Happen? Any other production notes or musical moments that really stuck out to you about this opening track?
I think, like you said, I think it kind of, in a way that reminds me of Mr. Crow, the way that the verses are kind of like almost just like a series of one-liners.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times, like a verse that John Foreman writes will kind of tell one long cohesive, statement. Whereas these verses are just kind of like, this line is its own standalone line, and it kind of does that, which is a little bit rare for him. So that's always fun. I also like how in the verses, like, I don't know if they like recorded it when he had a cold or something, but his voice is so raspy.
Yeah, it is.
And then it cuts to the pre-chorus. It gets kind of soft. You hear the acoustic guitar come in, and then his voice gets so much like softer and gentler. But I think, like you said, it sounds very Switchfoot. It comes in with like, the heavy, just repetitive drum, steady beat, the, distorted guitars, obviously. But then the pre-chorus happens, and then it gets soft. There's acoustic guitar, as the driving theme. And that's just such a Switchfoot thing to do. So I don't know that I would rank this song like super high in their discography, but I do think that like if you showed this song to someone who had never heard of Switchfoot, it kind of tells a big picture story of what they sound like.
Yes.
So, for what it's worth.
And we've had this conversation about what songs would you show to somebody who's never heard of Switchfoot before, which we'll return to on a later episode, which will be fun. All right, Native Tongue, track 2, kicks off the One Republic album. And I remember, I already shared my memory of hearing the song kind of for the first time with my dad in the car on the way to dinner. And my initial thought was it felt very Imagine Dragons to me, partially because every alternative rock band in the world was doing Imagine Dragons songs at that point. And I was like, okay, this is pretty good for like a Switchfoot Imagine Dragons song, right? Like I was like, this is fun. This is kind of cool. Like I listened to it a lot that summer, that year, and really enjoyed the song overall, even if I was like, this isn't really Switchfoot to me. It is definitely a Switchfoot lyrically, like
yeah,
1,000,000%. But just sonically sounds very Imagine Dragons, One Republic, and now after like going through the credits and the liner notes, it's like, yep, okay, this is very sense. One Republic pop rock record, and they do it better than a lot of bands do pop rock. But it's it's a song I like. There,
I had a youth group student come to me and say that exact sentiment, that it sounded like an Imagine Dragons song, and they said it was the first time they had ever heard a Switchfoot song. And that was their take on it. And I was like, oh, no, listen. Let me make you a playlist. Let me give you a CD. Hold on. You got to, they do not sound like Imagine Dragons. So I took that personally. But yes, very different. They were definitely trying something and giving mention to the live show and specifically the live EP. I'm so glad that they recorded a few songs from this album and released them live because they sound very different.
So different.
The approach to playing these songs live, specifically Native Tongue and Voices, we'll get to in a minute. They approach it very differently because there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of, maybe synthetic things going on and maybe even things that aren't synthetic but would be very hard to replicate live, especially with a 5-piece band of guitar players, So I think that the way they sound live is very cool. I do appreciate that the recorded versions exist and, they kind of tried to delve into new territory and it, maybe got people to listen to them for the first time who wouldn't have, kids who liked Imagine Dragons, pray for those kids. But
always.
And maybe turn them on to the rest of their catalog. But yeah, very, very different from anything Switchfoot had done. It makes you wonder what the reception would have been like had they just recorded it the way they play it live.
Yeah.
But then again, they maybe where's the fun in doing the same thing over and over again? You got to have fun. You got to experiment in the studio. So yeah, not going to knock it at all, but I'm glad we have a live version recorded too.
Yeah, I think the chorus absolutely rocks. I think it's awesome. It's an awesome chorus. Just obviously like the production elements surrounding it sound very modern pop rock. Imagine Dragons, One Republic, like all that sort of stuff. But I love that chorus so much. And obviously lyrically, it's very much a Switchfoot song, and like Love Is Our Native Tongue. Like that's very, very, very Switchfoot thematically. And this being the lead single too, I think probably also put some people maybe a little on edge about like how the rest of the record's going to sound. And that's probably what happened to me, honestly. Is I was like, okay, this is what it's going to be. And if this is how Switchfoot Imagine Dragons sounds, then so be it. Like I like it. It's fine, but it's not what I would choose. And so very interesting kind of first track single in the way that obviously it's the title track, so it makes sense. It's thematically what the whole album's about, but also sonically isn't my favorite, even though I do like it a little bit. So,
and I think honestly because of that, like you said, it was the lead single, which was maybe a way to turn heads of people who did listen to them really regularly and maybe catch attention from new people who hadn't heard from him in a while to be like, oh, okay, Switchfoot, they can adapt, they can kind of keep up with the times, so to speak. But like you said, it didn't necessarily advertise the sound of the album overall super well, which isn't necessarily what you're always trying to do with the lead single. But the second single, again, we'll talk about this one in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself, but was Voices, if I recall correctly, which is right in line with Native Tongue sonically.
Yes.
So you come out the gate with two singles that are, you know, like you said, really pop rock, really, you know, more synth driven than Switchfoot normally is. I think that's fair to say. And again, knowing the way they experiment and create sounds, I'm venturing to say there's not as much truly synthetic sounds on these songs as it sounds like there is, because I'm sure they found a way to create these sounds organically that sound synthetic, or just maybe put different effects on it. But again, hard to replicate live the way it is on the record. But yeah, so coming out with these, it really didn't advertise what the album was going to sound like. And I think that maybe that caused it caused a handful of the fan base to kind of not turn against it and not write it off per se, but to kind of just accept early on that, okay, this album isn't going to hit as hard as past albums.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's a reality to where, like, can you imagine if the 4 singles were like Dig New Streams, Wonderful Feeling, Joy
Take My
Invincible,
Fire.
and Take My Fire? You'd be like, what is happening?
Very different, you know? Yeah.
Very different.
Well,
Very different.
on that note, like if the singles were Let It Happen, Dig New Streams, and Take My Fire, you know, those are the 3, I guess, most guitar-driven rock songs on the album, then I feel like that gets the fan base hooked really fast, honestly, and then maybe the rest of the record is a letdown because it's not as heavy. But yeah, I don't know. Man, the art and science of choosing singles for an album sounds difficult.
Yes, I do love it though, and I wish, obviously, like, we've both made music in the past, and I've had to make some of those decisions, and it is one of my favorite things to do. But it does drive you a little bonkers when it feels like maybe this was a little bit more corporate driven. Like, it just feels like these are the radio songs, and like this is what, which
definitely.
makes sense. I get it. But shifting into the third single, or maybe not the third single, but it is the third song on the album and was a single, is All I Need, which is,
I think it was the third single. Yeah.
Which is our, you know, every album's got to have one. You know, it's the Christian radio record. You know,
the feel good, the campfire jam. Yeah,
it's the K-Love. It's the Air One. It's the your mom could listen to this and really love it. You know, like it is.
No, your mom.
Yeah. Every album has one of these. This one is not my favorite of the ones that are on these typically. I think Beautiful Life is probably up there for me.
That's up there, man. That's a good one. I think thematically, Beautiful Life and All I Need are very similar lyrically.
Yeah. And so is like Live It Well, and like some of the, like, there's a lot of crossover thematically with those Christian radio songs. And so this is a skip for me, just candidly. Like, when it starts, I'm like, just get me to the next thing. But I don't know, where are you at on All I Need?
I think All I Need is actually it may be my most played song from this album.
Really?
Because it's a summer playlister for me. But also, even especially recently, it's a song that I've learned that my baby likes.
Oh, nice.
You know, it's kind of softer, kind of, you know, kind of kumbaya-y. So it's a fun one to play for her and sing for her. So that's another reason it's been getting spun a lot lately. So, it was lower on the list for me than it is now because of that. So maybe that's one thing that changed. But it's kind of funny because, like you said, this was very much marketed as the Christian single. But, and I've never listened to a lot of radio, but I remember, I think Native Tongue itself got more radio play than this one. Right? Hence why, like, youth group kids were coming and talking about it. So I find that so interesting that, like, you know, like you said, Air One was playing Native Tongue a lot more than they were playing this one. So that's just I don't know. That's a curious thought for me. But I like All I Need. I really am a fan of the second verse. Again, I'm a kid from Kentucky, but I'm a sucker for an ocean reference. So there's a place down by the ocean where I take my mixed emotions. I think that's I don't know. It paints a picture for me. It kind of makes me feel like, oh, this song is about your happy place, but also appreciation for life. And I don't know. It's cheesy. It's on the nose, but it worked for me. So maybe I'm that
Yeah,
easy to
I love
please
that.
guy.
I love that perspective, and I love that for you. You landlocked surf rock boy. Um,
Great reference.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's still even like revisiting it for this episode. I just it's like, can we just
Yeah.
get to the next one? But
This is good though. We needed to
we need to
disagree on more
disagree. We need. I
things,
think
you
it's going to
know.
continue on this album a
Perfect.
little bit, which is going to be great. And then track 4, kind of rounding out the singles on the record, we have "Voices," which is produced and written with some help from Brian Cutzel and Ryan Tedder from One Republic. And here's another One Republic song. You know,
Yes, it is.
I'm very curious as to how Ryan got involved with this song. If it was a One Republic song that wasn't working for them, and they kind of pitched it to Switchfoot and said, "Hey, we had this kind of unfinished thing.
That's a fun thought.
Would you like, take a crack at it?" Because Ryan's not credited anywhere else other than this one. Or if it was, hey, Brian, the bass player for One Republic, was like, "Hey, I'm working with Switchfoot. We got the song. We're trying to figure it out. Do you have anything like that you think you can make it work?" And so I'm very curious of how this song originated.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that writing session or whatever it was that came together.
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for Ryan Tedder as a producer, as a writer. He's done a lot of my favorite work with the Jonas Brothers, and obviously he's done stuff for Beyonce, and you just go down the list of how many credits the guy has. And yeah, really respect him as a producer. There was a show back in 2019 where it was basically like American Idol or The Voice, but it was for like music producing. And so you'd have you'd have like 4 music producers that were all really respected. Ryan Tedder was one of them. And then people would come on the show, play their song, and the producers would pick it, and then they would go work on it, and then they would give it to an artist. Like the Jonas.
What is this show called?
Oh my gosh, this is. My dad and my wife are going crazy right now.
This is about to be my new series, bro. I've never heard of this.
It only has like 2 seasons, but I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. Oh my gosh, this is gonna drive me crazy.
Sidebar about this show because I'm very curious. I want to see this.
No, it's not Hitmakers. That's what's on Songland. There it is. Woo.
Songland.
Woo. Songland. Okay. Great show.
We'll report back if I can find a way to watch it.
Yes, it is very good, and a lot of really cool artists on there. Kelsey Ballerini, so cool. Jonas Brothers, Black Eyed Peas, a whole lot of really cool artists are on there too. And yeah, it's really fun. And Ryan Tedder's on that. So anyway, got a lot of respect for Ryan Tedder. I'm just very curious as to how this song "Voices" came to be. As it is released and has hit my ears, I don't love this one as much as Native Tongue, the song. This feels even more One Republic than Native Tongue does to me in a lot of ways. And also, sonically feels very close to Native Tongue too. So, this continues the One Republic album part of this record. And it's not my favorite. I like it enough. But I'm curious, how was it live?
Again, it was played live pretty differently. And I say all that means is that it's guitar driven. So, they're playing all the chords and the notes and everything on distorted guitars, which makes it feel a little grittier, makes it feel a little bit more emotional and angry just by nature of adding distorted guitar. But it was, again, this is one that's on the live EP. So there's a live recording of it for anyone if you haven't heard a live take on this. But I think it was great. I don't think they played it every show of the tour on the Native Tongue tour. And then I think they retired this song pretty immediately after that tour. I think they've brought it back as a fan request a few times here and there, which I get. But also, like, it's kind of one of those guilty pleasure songs that if it showed up on a set list, I would be like, okay, yeah, this is good. I thought it was very interesting live. It's one of those interesting songs because it's not like a huge chorus.
The chorus is very short too.
like it's just very steady and kind of subtle, chugging along. My take on this was that this is Switchfoot, this is a Switchfoot One Republic song.
Yes.
My take on this was that just lyrically, this was their attempt at trying to make a 21 Pilots song.
Interesting.
Just simply because maybe this was just a little bit too much of a reach for me. But I used to listen to the radio, but I've got an army of voices in my head.
Yeah.
Somebody stole my car radio, and now I just sit in silence. That felt, just by mentioning the word radio,
yes,
is where I'm getting that from.
Pilots, yeah.
But it kind of feels like, we know that there's a lot of shared respect, mutual respect between John Foreman and Tyler Joseph. So I don't know, maybe that was kind of like a nod there, or even a subconscious, inspiration moment. But that's kind of my take. It doesn't sound like 21 Pilots, but just that one line kind of feels like, oh, what if we tried to write our own car radio? Oh,
yeah. It also has a little bit of, it was giving I feel like in the 2010s there was a lot of songs about the radio. You got the Maroon 5.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
You've got the Gym Class Heroes. I can't remember the name of that song off the top of my head now. But yeah, it feels very 2010s in the way that it's written. Like, it just feels like there was a lot of that, like, radio, stereo.
True. Yeah,
thing in the air.
Makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah. And we've
Stereo Hearts.
Stereo Hearts. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. I think maybe the Maroon 5 song I just mixed up actually is the Gym Class Heroes song. Maybe I'm thinking of one song only now. Okay.
True. Yeah.
All right. So we've wrapped up side A of side A, B, C, D.
The One Republic EP.
The One Republic EP, and also the 4 singles. And you flip it over to side B, and I drop the needle, and I'm like, oh, we are somewhere completely different than we were a record flip ago.
Yes.
With Dig New Streams, track number 5. The note I have on Dig New Streams, the first note I have, in all caps, Holy Beatles, Batman. This is like the most straightforward, I think, Beatles song that they've made. This feels very late Beatles in the Sgt. Pepper White Album, Abbey Road combo of songs there.
Which makes sense because this is one of those songs also that we get in all caps Tim vocals.
We do. Tim vocals, and I do believe this song doesn't have any other credits beyond the Foreman brothers writing and producing. Obviously you've got different credits on the mixing and mastering, but this is the Foreman brothers song solely, no other listed credits on the writing and producing, and it totally feels like a Foreman brothers produced track. It feels like you just mentioned, Tim's got vocals on it. Tim says he listens to Abbey Road. It feels very Tim in that way. Also feels very John in a lot of ways too, and this is just a fun song. I've revisited this one a lot.
It's so much fun. It really is. Another one that was fun live to see. Another one I wish they did not retire live as quickly as they did. But I don't know, maybe you can get in our request. I did hear that it was on a live stream when they were doing just live streams during COVID. But they took in fan requests online. And I remember, I think it was like an 8-year-old boy who requested that they play People Put Your Hands Up. So nice. We love People Put Your Hands Up. It's a great song.
It's a great one. And sonically, I thought I knew what the album was going to be after listening to the first 4 songs. And then all of a sudden I feel like I'm in new territory with Dig New Streams. And again, in the album trailer, they said this is the most diverse album we've ever made. And so there are a lot of sounds here. But it is just so interesting, just the sonic whiplash that you can get song to song. Where did this come from compared to where we just were? And in that way, in that respect, the album doesn't feel super cohesive, sonically. It feels very cohesive thematically. And And again, they said like this is the most diverse album we've ever made. There's a lot of sounds here. There's a lot of stuff we're doing, and so like they're very upfront about that. But it doesn't have the same cohesion, I think, in the way that a record like Forever Now does, right? Where there's a lot of different sounds, but also like it feels. Forever Now feels like it has a sound, whereas I feel like Native Tongue's sound is we have no sound and we're just going for it everywhere.
Yeah. But even you talking about sonic whiplash within this song on its own, it's got some of that, you know, which I think very cool little moment. They turn into the refrain. Tim is singing. He says, "I'm headed down to New Orleans," which is not a very Switchfoot line.
No,
it's repeated a couple times. And then you got a horn section that comes in.
Very Sergeant Pepper's of them.
John Painter is credited with the horns. Yes, very Sergeant Pepper's. So yeah, like just going all over the place. And then, you know, they kind of play out the rest of like the bluesy, you know, part, heavy, loud part. And then the time change and the key changes and they got the piano dun 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 playing into the key change. And then everything changes. And then they go into this whole, I don't know if you call it the bridge or the middle eight or I don't know what you call any part of this song, which is awesome. And then you've got where like John Foreman is like paraphrasing Jesus in this really random place that doesn't sound like the part where you turn this into like a call to follow Jesus, but he's kind of quoting the, you know, "Follow me, all who are weary and burdened, I'll give you rest. Come all you worn out, burnt out, sick and tired." Then he starts to kind of call out the church. "Come all you fake pretentious suit and ties with your filthy hands and your blackened eyes. If you've been hurt by the church of black and white." Like, dude just went somewhere astronomical on this song, and I can't get enough of it. Fantastic song. It's one that every time I remember it, I'm like, oh, that's such a good song. Let's listen. But unfortunately, it's not one that like stays at the top of my mind as much as maybe it deserves to.
Yeah.
But such a fun song.
Yeah, I've only listened to it in the context of the album, right? So like I have listened to it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Probably like 10 times in the last 2 weeks, always in the order of the album, right?
Okay.
And so in that way, every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, this is so great. This is so awesome. Like we're just because of the tracks that it follows on the album and where it sits. And I really love this one. Partially like a huge Beatles nerd too. Like, just pre-ordered my Rubber Soul
Super Deluxe.
I did not get the box set, but I did. I did get the 2 LP that has like the outtakes on it. So I'm very excited to get that.
Very fun.
And so as a Beatles guy, this one is also just like so fun.
So fun. My wife has said before that this was her favorite song on the record. I don't know if she'd stand by that. No.
Yeah, well.
I won't call her in here to answer to it. We'll just say it.
This is my wife's favorite song. When she's on as a guest at some point, we'll ask her. We'll drill down.
Yes. We'll revisit this one.
And then the next song after Dig New Streams is one that I see get a lot of praise in a lot of different places. On Reddit, on Music Board, which is a kind of letterbox for music kind of a thing. A lot of high ratings, a lot of 5 out of 5 on this Joy Invincible song. Musically, I'll just say this is not my favorite necessarily. Sonically, not my favorite on the record, but it is hard not to be completely moved and captivated by the story that's being told throughout this song, which is the obviously the kind of the drive of the song is just the story that John is telling kind of throughout. And
he comes right out the gate. Hey, this is a story about a hard time.
Yes.
He says that everything fell to pieces. My eyes met yours in the hospital gown. So we know from the first line, okay, this is about to be
absolutely. Something. Yeah. No, it is. And that everything fell to pieces. People have been saying connection to natural causes. Which is also a song about death in a different way. And hard times in a different way. But I also just think everything fell to pieces is kind of like just a thing that people say too. So I think it's also used again somewhere else on this record, not like in the same exact way. I can't remember where. So again, musically, not my favorite to return to. Not going to listen to it a ton, but man, it is the story that's that's told here is really powerful, and it's moved me to getting choked up a couple of times, particularly the chorus. I've thought about like "Hallelujah, Nevertheless," like as a tattoo would be pretty sweet somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Or an Instagram bio that's less permanent.
I'm not gonna. I think my friend Jensen once had that as her Instagram bio. Jensen, I don't know if you're listening out there, but you have to remind me if I'm making this up, and I'm sorry if I am. I'm pretty sure for a while Jensen's bio was "Hallelujah, Nevertheless." So shout out to her for getting there first.
Yeah. And so the chorus just wrecked me, because the chorus kind of resonates, regardless of where you find yourself in different situations. And then obviously the verses are about a very specific thing. I don't know. Do you have any more backstory on this song, or
no? This was one that kind of got the single treatment after
later
the release later, and it was packaged as a collaboration. So they had a
from
CCM
Bethel, right?
Artist.
Jen Johnson from Bethel. She does Goodness
I don't know
of God.
a lot about that lane. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So they had her kind of jump on verse 2. I think I've heard that version once.
Yeah.
But it helped to get it to K-Love and get some extra radio spins. I think that I loved the song when the record came out, and then after it kind of became a radio song, for whatever reason,
I do the
it
same
kind
thing.
of lost some flavor to me, and I don't know why that is. Is that I don't know a whole lot about Bethel or Jen Johnson, and I don't know. I don't think it's her fault. I mean, she's a great singer, but it just kind of felt like it took on a new form. It didn't just live in this, in my little album anymore. It kind of was somewhere else. And that sounds like I'm being really gatekeepy, but I just think the different version for me didn't work as well for some reason. And so when I revisit the song, it just kind of reminds me, this became a K-Love one. It felt, I guess, maybe like became a little less personal, which sounds gatekeepy. I'm not trying to be that way.
No,
I want more people to listen to Switchfoot. So if that's what it takes, then sure,
Yeah, but I get that. I'm the same way when the songs that I really loved hit the radio, and I'm like, wait, did I actually love this song because it's on the radio? Like, now it's on. I don't know. But yeah, Sonic Whiplash again, going from Dig New Streams to this one. Also, just kind of crazy. But a song that, again, storytelling wise and what John is doing here lyrically, is really moved me. Even if sonically, musically, it's not going to be one of my favorites to kind of return to. But then kind of closing out side B, we've got Prodigal Soul. A couple notes I have written down here. Side B, very Christian. Side B is Dig New Streams, Joy Invincible, and Prodigal Soul.
This is the Christian EP, huh?
This is the Christian EP. Okay. And also have noted here, John's really going for it vocally here. Some really cool places. And then side B, all 3 songs on side B, only produced by the Foreman Brothers, no other credits.
Hey, those pastors' kids.
Yeah, how about it?
Producing this Christian section of the record. To shout out to our friend Jared again. I think he said that this is like his favorite song from this album, where it's high up there. He put it on his like 10-song highlight that we talked about earlier. And this song is great to me. I remember it. I think it's ingrained in my brain more as a tag than the complete song, because similar to what we talked about last week with Beloved, this song was played like a verse and a chorus was tagged at the beginning of Dare You to Move on the Native Tongue tour. And I had a video of it on my phone, but I stopped recording right before they transitioned it into Dare You to Move, so I didn't get the good part. But for me, just because of how like crazy that was to see and hear live, they start playing Prodigal Soul. You're like, oh, cool, yeah, good song. And then it turns to Dare You to Move.
Just like with the Beloved,
yeah. So that's maybe how this song lives in my head long term. But revisiting the album and just listening to the song all the way through, I was like, oh, dude, this song is so good. I'm kind of surprised that this song didn't get propped up a little bit more and, kind of get the Christian radio treatment. I feel like it was another one that definitely could have made some noise in the Christian space, and I think it's a good one because Prodigal was like a huge thing going on, and you talk about radio being a big thing in pop music. Prodigal was like the thing to sing about in Christian music at the time.
Yep.
So, it really kind of fit there. So I'm kind of surprised it didn't take off in that specific lane. But yeah, good song. Because it's Christian, and obviously using the word prodigal, but it's not like too much, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. No, for sure. It's not, overwhelming in that way.
Mhm.
I did find the lyric I was referring to. I was falling to pieces when you carried me home was the other. Everything fell to pieces.
Okay.
Reference
Back to back.
Back
Okay.
to back.
These two songs fit together sonically better than
Yes,
Dig
just
New
about.
Streams does with the other two.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I love the opening lyric on this song. The sun comes up alone like a funeral from my home.
Mhm.
Like a mirror for my soul. That imagery. Just really powerful stuff. For Prodigal Soul, a song that was fun to kind of discover on this. Kind of go around on listening to this album over and over in preparation for this. It was one that I hadn't heard a ton before this, so it was fun to really give this one specifically a listen over and over. But
it's on the youth group playlist now.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. Which is great. So yeah, that concludes side A and B. Again, I have a 2 vinyl set here.
Yeah.
So I got
same.
side C and D here.
I think that's how they were all.
Yeah, I think so.
packaged.
I got mine at FYE for $5.
Nice.
When FYE was closing near me. So, but
Rip.
starting off side C is The Hardest Art, which has a feature.
Yes, which is a rare thing to happen on an album.
Yes.
As we
They've done it
mentioned a
to
second ago.
singles. Lauren Daigle's been on I Won't Let You Go, and Jen
Yeah.
Johnson's been on, obviously, Joy Invincible. And
But to have a feature on
to
the
have
album,
a feature on the album.
I don't know. Have they ever done? Is there another time they've done that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Never mind. I just remembered one very prominently from Where the Light Shines Through.
Yep.
Sorry, brain slipped.
Shout out
there,
Lecrae.
We'll get there. But yeah, so rare feature. I told you this the other day. I couldn't really find anything else on Kayla Sinclair. I think you said maybe she releases under
She's
a mononym.
Yes. It was part of a band, maybe.
Okay, cool. There is Brent Kutzel on the additional production on this one, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So we got some more One
Republic coming back. My take on this song is this is like a modern rendition of Crash by The Primitive.
Oh.
Did I recall? Yeah, The Primitive.
Okay.
So especially when Kayla Sinclair's verse comes in, you got kind of the soft, airy female vocals, which really drives that home for me. So that's how I hear this song. So it's like kind of starts out feeling like this should be on a 90s movie soundtrack, but then it kind of has that weird like pop synth drop after the second chorus. So it definitely changes direction. And then the bridge gets like really big and like loud reverby shouts. So it changes direction, but at least the first couple of verses, it really feels like that one specific song for me.
Yeah, my note says, "Whoa, some EDM." And we've got some synths and some like Hillsong Young and Free era.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I didn't even think about that, but that's very accurate.
Which, speaking of, I was just at a week of high school camp a week ago, and they played Wake and Sinking Deep, both from Hillsong Young and Free. And
haven't heard those in a while.
It took me right back to my weeks of high school camp, and I was like, wait, is this about me now? Like,
am I a student, Zach, again? What?
But it was so cool to like hear students be like, "Oh, that song Sinking Deep, I'd never heard that before. I really love it." Like, it's just, it was fun. And Wake, with its EDM vibes,
definitely had that feel.
So The Hardest Art, got some One Republic, got some Hillsong Young and Free. You know, what a time to be alive. 2019,
Definitely.
before Hillsong Young and Free would be no more. But yeah, any thoughts on the hardest art? This was one that I hadn't heard. I'd maybe heard one time before really
Yeah.
diving into this. And so it was kind of another sonic, like, whoa, what's going on here? Kind of a fun vibe in that way.
Yeah.
But I haven't found myself like itching to come back to it a ton.
Yeah.
But the feature is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. This one was on like this is I think like a good road trip song, you know.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I love
but
the
again,
wordplay on the
Yeah.
hardest art. Like that's cool. Like our love is
Yeah,
the hardest art.
yeah.
Typically would be the hardest part, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, I think just where like the first couple of verses sound to me like Crash, I just think about the scene where that song plays on Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but maybe that's why this feels like a road trip song to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening in the movie. So, anyways, yeah, this is the Dumb and Dumber song.
That's great.
So.
That's great. And then Wonderful Feeling, the song that follows. Got some more Beatles vibes back on this one, I think. And just a lovely song. This was one of my favorites to return to.
Nice.
I guess the songs that have some Beatles influence, I just have gravitated back towards on this record in particular. But I've really enjoyed my time with this song in particular. I think lyrically it's really cool. Again, has some of that Beatles influence.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's a great one and maybe a little slept on. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. This is another one very similar to All I Need that has recently become heavily on the rotation for me. Baby girl likes this song a lot. It has helped her fall asleep many times. I got myself stuck in a loop with it the other day. I was just kind of rocking her and singing this song, and then she fell asleep, and then I kind of stopped singing, and then she woke up, and so I started singing something else, and she wasn't happy. So I started singing this again, and I ended up, I think, having to sing this song just, a cappella to myself about 56 times in a row. So I still like it after that experience. So I think that one, it held up for me better upon this stage of life than it did back when the album came out. So that's always fun when one like grows on you or takes on a new form.
It's the best. There's been some recent songs on some recent albums that have done that for me. Raw Fear and Garbage off of Breach were two songs that when I first heard them, I liked them, but it's upon returning to them, hearing them, they've been two like huge growers on me.
Sidebar of host Lure, you and I, we were at separate shows on the Clancy tour Breach.
Yep.
But we were both present at shows where they debuted songs live
true.
from that album for the first time. So I think you got to hear, was it Tally? It
was Tally for the first time.
Tally for the first time. And I got to hear Garbage for the first time.
Nice.
So, yeah, Cincinnati. I think that was not one of the tours. So maybe I heard a few others.
For the first time.
Still, yeah. That one was the one I remembered. So.
Yeah, no, cool. Garbage live is just unbelievable.
Lots of 21 Pilots mentions in this.
It's hard not to, man. It's hard not to. That these bands are linked in a lot of those ways, and also, we're Christian kids from the 2000s, so like inevitably there's going to be a lot of crossover. And,
when a Christian band crosses over to the mainstream and is good, it's hard not to get hooked on them as a Christian kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a few of those when I was younger too, like the Fray and Lifehouse and like a bunch of those that. It's like, they're Christian, but they're mainstream.
Yeah, I can tell this song's about Jesus.
Yeah, totally. Very cool. And then Take My Fire has an awesome guitar riff. Such a fun song. Dude. I clocked this when I heard it. When I was listening to it for the first time for this purpose. This felt like a very Chase song to me. And a lot of your
happily take that.
And a lot of your sensibilities and things that I think you find yourself musically interested in, things you try to do and when you make music. I wrote down this feels like a song they would play over college football highlights on ESPN on a Saturday afternoon. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely. Switchfoot's been picked up on those a couple times. Yeah. I don't know if this is one, but yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
I could picture Oklahoma and Oklahoma State on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah,
You know,
100%,
ESPN2 or
dude.
whatever. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
great.
Again, if this song was cut as a single, I think like the fan base approaches this album very differently.
Yeah.
Dude. So this song, the way that because I keep up on Setlist FM. I look at Switchfoot
Love
set
Setlist
lists
FM.
all the time, especially if they're on a tour. Like I just want to see because they don't play the same set list night after night on a tour. If so, you know, for anybody out there, if you've seen them or if you're thinking about seeing them, one of the fun, exciting, rare things that Switchfoot does is like they have a blueprint. They kind of have a skeleton of a set list, but they will change things up here and there. One thing that was really interesting that they did on the Native Tongue tour, at least early on, as I was keeping up with it, is they had a slot in the set list that was a like back and forth between Dig New Streams and Take My Fire.
Oh, it's
So
cool.
every other night
Yeah.
it would be one
I
of those
would love
songs
that,
in
yeah.
this slot.
Yeah.
So where I saw them on a Friday and a Sunday,
Yep.
I heard Dig New Streams twice, which was great, and I wouldn't change that. But I didn't get to hear Take My Fire
Oh.
live until November of that year. They brought it out at a festival that I went to.
Okay, good. So you've
which
gotten to hear it.
was-
You've gotten to hear
I
it.
got to hear it live finally, and it hit so hard. And yeah, the guitars are great. The bridge in this song, another one, just kind of goes crazy. He kind of goes off, and he's just like I don't even know again how to describe like what he's doing vocally, but just the repetition. Not repetition, but just yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of losing my words here, but
Oh, you're good.
yeah, it's an insane refrain, I think, in the bridge. And
Yeah.
kind of rare form for John Foreman again, but I think it makes it hit hard. And then when they reference the album title
Yeah.
in this song as well, Speaking with the Fire, it's my native tongue, and he kind of like growls it a little bit. I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of made this album feel a little more cohesive.
Yeah.
Similar to how, not sonically similar, but with Sgt. Pepper's, kind of what John Lennon said is it's a concept album because we said it was a concept
Yeah.
album. That's kind of this nod
Totally.
here. It's like, you know, we said native tongue in another song. It's a concept album.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I love the riff. I love a lot about this song. I'm not a huge fan of John dipping his toes into like the rapping stuff. Like it's not my
Yes,
favorite.
that's the word I was looking for in the bridge.
Yeah,
and
it could
the
kind of come
verses he
off
kinda
a
does it too.
little corny to me. Depends on the song. Like I think there's some stuff on Forever Now that he drifts into that territory that works a lot better for me. But this song I didn't love the verses and the bridge in that sense. But the riff is so good, and I've seen like a video of them playing it live, and like as soon as the riff hits, like people lose their minds. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Really fun like live song energy in
Yeah.
that way, but not
Yeah.
not one of my favorites in the grand scheme of things, but I have fun listening to it every time I listen to it. Yeah, because the riff is just great.
Yeah.
The chorus is great, and the native tongue
Yeah.
reference also.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You say, I need you to be wrong about the verses and the bridge.
Yeah, sorry.
That's our new segment of the episode. Once an episode, we have a strong disagreement. You get to pull the I need you to be wrong button.
Yeah, I need like a little sound
Yeah.
sound button. I can do different
Yeah.
like effects and stuff.
Little production note that I find funny about this song, though, is for people who would understand this, in the verses, I feel like, I don't know if it's like just kind of like the saturation that's on his vocal. It sounds like the de-esser that they used got slammed a little
Yes.
too hard.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for saying this. I meant to write that down.
Because like, not to sound rude, I don't know if this would sound rude, but like he has a lisp in the
He does.
verses,
He
and
does.
only in
He
the
does.
verses, because I guess again maybe the
I-
de-esser, they just slammed it a little bit too hard.
I totally meant to write that down and I didn't. So thank you for bringing that back
I
up.
think of that every time. It kind of makes me giggle.
Oh, that's a great note. Thank you for bringing that back up.
Of course,
I
definitely.
totally
Yeah.
missed to write that down. That's great. And then side C concludes with "Strength to Let Go," which is the song that Bear Reinhardt is credited on as some additional vocals and production. And another song that leans a little into Christian radio. Got a few of those on this one, which is fine. Not my favorite flavor of Switchfoot, but still some really cool moments here. This song, I think, as I've revisited it, kind of takes on a little bit more of a life, knowing that Bear's credited on it, and there's some Need to Breathe influence here. And at this point in time, I think Bear was doing solo stuff. I think his Wilder Woods record had just come out.
Fun.
Which is great. And obviously these two bands are pretty close. They've done Tour de Compadres together and are linked in a lot of ways as those 2000s Christians bands that found some mainstream success and are cousins in a lot of ways. And
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so it's been cool, like having that note on this song gave it a new life for me, but I don't know that I would come back to it a ton besides that for me. But
this one I heavily spin this song when the album was new. This was another one of those, maybe kind of like Natural Causes is right now, that snuck in as a fan favorite, maybe unexpectedly.
Sure.
And so I'll say I'm glad to see that Natural Causes is getting
it's getting the love, man.
Love.
It is getting the love
from the band in response to the fan love.
Yes.
Because that was not the case with Strength to Let Go. It was a fan favorite. It was like when the tour started, people were like, "Why aren't you playing the Strength to Let Go? That's the best song on the album." And I feel like they just were kind of like, "Oh, we didn't expect that. We don't know what to do with that." So I don't think this song actually ended up getting played ever until like one of the last stops of the tour, if I recall correctly. So I've never heard this one live. I remember it was a big deal because some of my friends from across the states were at the show when they played it live for the first time, and they were like, "Finally, they played Strength to Let Go."
That's great.
And then we kind of, I think they retired that one pretty fast after. So it didn't get the response of love from the bands that it did from the fans.
Yeah,
so kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to, with that kind of lens, to continue to like come back to it. Just because it, for whatever reason, for me wasn't just like a huge moment on the album. But with that context of like it being a fan favorite, I'm excited to like go back through and like kind of parse through that a little bit more. And then some of the collaborators, obviously mentioned Bear, just really love that connection on this song too.
I had never spotted that before. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, really fun. And then we flip to side D, which is the final side of the two records with Oxygen. We're gonna be all right, and You're the One I Want. Starting with Oxygen, love the piano on this one. The piano sounds great, and there's a fun little key change in the chorus as well. That's just awesome and really tickles my brain in a fun way. But again, like I like this song. Don't love this song. Haven't revisited it a ton. A lot, kind of the side D songs. Obviously. We'll get to You're the One I Want, but it's very short. It's cute. It's adorable. And then We're Gonna Be All Right has its own kind of vibe too. But what are your thoughts on Oxygen here as we kind of run down the side D and kind of bring it to a close?
This one is my skip. This would be my one cut from the album.
Okay.
Since we do that, I guess I jumped ahead. But
you're fine.
If I listen to the album all the way through, I've never actually skipped it. But it, like you said about one song earlier, I've never listened to this song outside the context of the album.
Totally fair.
They played it during a live stream, like one of the really unique live streams they did during the Fantastic Not Traveling Music Show when they played a set in a hot air balloon.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a really crazy thing to do.
And
so
a great
they
song
played
to play
it.
in that.
Yeah, okay, that kind of a strange thing to get up there, say I'm running out of oxygen, and then you're getting into the sky, and you're like, I hope we don't run out of oxygen. But no, like you said, it was so fitting. But so that was, for me, that was something that maybe gave it a second life, was to hear them play it and find a really neat spot for it to fit. But still not one that I revisit a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, we can keep moving through then. With We're Gonna Be All Right. I have in all caps with 4 exclamation points. A uke tune. We got a little uke
Yes.
going on,
Yes.
which I know you're a big uke guy. I'm a big,
Yes, I am.
as a 21 Pilots fan, you have to be. And my ears were just delighted to revisit this little uke tune. And
Yes.
Chase has his uke right in front of us. I love that so
Yes.
much.
If you're on the audio version, I'm holding a uke out. This is one of 3 I have in this room, but this was the easiest to grab.
Yes. And then I also have noted here, this gives little Matt Carney vibes to me. I don't know if you listen to Matt
Okay,
Carney at
yeah.
all, especially like
Little bit.
his 2010s, early 2010 stuff. He had some uke tunes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on We're Gonna Be All Right? Obviously the uke kind of
Yeah.
uke bias here a little bit,
Yeah,
probably
uke bias for sure. Again, this is great for a summer playlist.
Totally.
It sounds it's not one that I think deep on a whole lot.
Sure.
But it just goes so well. And then giving nod again to if you're watching the YouTube version, the poster behind me from the Fantastic Traveling Music Show. This song got debuted there. I don't think they played it in its entirety, but it was like maybe part of a mashup. But they did quick explanation of that. Such a fun Switchfoot tour for anyone if you were there or if you don't remember it or whatever. But they played like 2 sets as the band. They played a set of like 10 songs just acoustic and then came out full band for like 10 more songs or something like that, around that number. But this song got debuted there because for most of the acoustic set, John Foreman actually played the uke. He said that he learned to play the uke just for that tour. So I don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah,
because
that's a cool little note.
I don't see anyone else credited with having played the uke on this song, so had to have been someone in the band. But yeah, so it was really fun to hear live. Always fun to hear. You know, it's a good summer playlist song, like you said. Uke bias. I don't know that this one is as widely beloved and widely received because it sounds so different from what Switchfoot would do. But again, diverse record. They're trying different things. They're just kind of, I don't know, just throwing out instruments and sounds and being like, hey, you know. I think this was maybe the album where they said, because they were recording it in their home studio and they had just accumulated so many different instruments that they never really used on a record before. They were like, why don't we just try it? It's here. It's in the room. Let's just record it. And if it sounds good, we'll keep it. So that may have been one of the driving forces of this being a uke tune.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a fun vibe. It's feels very similar to me, not really sonically, but just like the vibe and the reason I would choose to listen to it as When Was the Last Time on Where the Light Shines Through, the deluxe. Just a fun summertime. Let me throw it on in the car with the windows down.
Don't have to think too hard about it. It's just
Yeah, we need those songs. We need those songs from time to time.
Yeah.
And then kind of hard sonic whiplash a little bit into You're the One I Want, with the piano and the songs shorter than a lot of the other ones on the record. And it's lovely. It's gorgeous song. I have it here noted. Side D is the side of the piano. A lot of piano on side D with Oxygen and this song. And very interesting as an album closer. So I can't remember where I saw this. Was there a song that got released somewhere else as like a B-side somewhere that didn't make it here? Do you know if this is true? If I'm lying about something?
As the album closer?
Just a song that didn't make it that I saw somewhere on some Reddit post. Again, I shouldn't be on Reddit as much as I am. That was like, oh, I wonder how this album would have sounded different if this song was the closer.
Interesting.
And I thought it was a song that wasn't on there already, but
So they did something interesting with this album. Is they had like multiple deluxe versions. And they kind of did like the Target exclusive.
It's Walmart. I'm looking at it right now. There's a whole bunch.
So there was
Holy
a Walmart
cow!
exclusive. I think there was a Target exclusive. So like there were, I want to say maybe 3 different deluxe versions. Each one had 2 or 3 different.
Okay, so here we go. I've got it pulled up. We've got
B-sides on the back end. I had the Walmart version. I wish retrospectively that I would have bought all of them. But yeah, so I got the Walmart version CD. just to get some fun B-sides. I think that was the first one that they released. So I don't know which one that would be referencing to, but this album has some very fun B-sides, a very funny lyric from one of them. One of the B-sides on the Walmart exclusive was called White Lies.
Yes.
And he has a line where he says, "Every word you say is a sewer main ready to blow," which is a hilariously articulate way to say you're full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And just so on the nose.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing else I'm saying here other than you are full of crap. And that as a Southern kid, that's very funny to me.
Yeah, so the Walmart edition had White Lies, Don't Want Your Money, and then the Switchfoot web store exclusive had Let's Go Higher.
Okay.
And
so
then,
it wasn't as many maybe as I thought.
Well, there's some acoustic, like All I Need Acoustic, All I Need West Coast Edition, Native Tongue, Acoustic. So there's a lot of different, It sounds like there was 6 additional songs that you could find. Yeah. But man, I haven't heard any of those because that's the only way to find them. So
I think they're
probably on YouTube.
There are
somewhere.
some Switchfoot fans, that they make collections of like Switchfoot rare songs on YouTube. So maybe
I'll have to check them out that way. But you're the one I want as an album closer.
Though, you're the one I want. These 3 songs on side D being the last 3 of the album is, I feel like, really weird for Switchfoot to close on such a mild note.
Yep.
Normally, if the last song on the album is milder or softer, for lack of a better way to put it, there's usually one that's like a little bit more rock driven right before it. So it's weird that the last 3 songs on this album are all very like mild and mellow. But this song will always have a special place in my heart because my wife walked down the aisle to the song. This was a perfect walk down the aisle song. I think I probably convinced her to do that because I was like, "Oh, it's so perfect." She loves Switchfoot too, so she didn't disagree. I think she said a couple times, looking back, she wishes she would have walked down the aisle to "Here Comes My Girl" by Tom Petty, which maybe is the most elite thing to walk down to. But still, we use this one, and it always is going to be a good memory for me.
That's so sweet, and we'll give this song a whole new meaning for me too. Just as like that's a really cool thing for you and for your story. Like this crazy how songs can kind of like cement themselves in that way. It's just like part of your life now,
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, that is Native Tongue, all 14 songs, track by track. A couple quick categories, rapid fire here. Let's go best song. What's your favorite song on the album?
Oh gosh. Over all of the years that it's been out, I think Take My Fire is what has been my top of this list the most. Like I said, recently, All I Need and Wonderful Feeling have really been in heavy rotation, but I think for what's it been, about 7 years now we've had this album. I think Take My Fire has been like my top of the line for the most part.
Great. I'm gonna go with Dig New Streams and
great
pick that one as my best song. It was between that and Let It Happen, I think. As I was kind of going back and forth,
which are the kind of 2 brother songs on this album. They fit together.
Yes,
the best.
Agreed. And then one cut you already mentioned. Yours would be Oxygen, if I'm correct on that.
Yes.
And then I'm having a hard time deciding between all of the Christian radio songs which one I'm going to cut. I don't think it's going to be Joy Invincible. I don't think it's going to be Strength to Let Go because, again, beloved by fans, Bear Reinhardt credited on here. I did enjoy it. I think, oh man, I don't know if this is going to get me like canceled in the Switchfoot community. I think All I Need is going to be my cut. Is that crazy? I don't know. I
don't think that's that crazy. It wasn't one.
It's a single, so it's weird to say.
Was as loved, but because like you said, it's kind of like in that category of like Live It Well and Now Beautiful Life.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, if you want this vibe of a song, you've got a few different Switchfoot songs you can pick from. And at least from the very fact that like they played All I Need throughout the Native Tongue tour, of course. And then after that, kind of in that same slot in the set list template, they started switching back to Live It Well to tell that story. So, like I said, I think this one has maybe even aged better for me than Live It Well or some of the other ones like that. But I don't think that's as hot of a take, maybe.
Okay.
But
Well,
I love the song. I think it's a good one.
And then let's go peak John Foreman moment. I'll share mine. Mine is kind of the concept for the album as a whole. The love being our shared language, our native tongue, is very peak John Foreman to me. And I just really love that. And then I was gonna say, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but the bridge on Dig New Streams, where he kind of just goes in and talks about faith and the church, and I really love that moment too. So those probably be my two. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say just the concept for the album overall, and like the theme of it is very, very John Foreman in a cool way.
Yeah. My peak John Foreman from the album is actually from The Hardest Art, when he says, "Love is surrender, is love is surrender, is love is surrender, is love." Like, okay, yeah, that's very John Foreman. We're going to, if we're John Foreman, we're going to say love is something. Every album has several examples of love is this, and love is the movement, and love is the language, and love is the native tongue, and love is the hardest art, and love is a song, and love is a melody, and love is worth the fight, and love alone is, love is the final fight, and love is the only art, and love is the hardest art, and love is surrender. It's just, he's gonna say love is gonna be his thing.
Yeah. That's really good. Really good observation there too.
Love is the rebel song. I just got a little shout out across the door from my wife to a John Foreman solo song.
Let's go.
Love is gonna be something from old John Foreman.
Yeah. Well, that kind of wraps up our native tongue conversation. I will say I came into this being like, okay, got to get one of the weaker Switchfoot albums out of the way. We got to talk about what I thought before, like really revisiting it, was going to be like my least favorite Switchfoot record. And I was just reminded that even in the Switchfoot records that are maybe towards the bottom of a ranking or a list, that there's still a lot of beauty and joy and fun and just really great songwriting and storytelling. Like, Switchfoot's a great band. Like, even their quote unquote weaker albums in their catalog are still going to have their moments and their songs. And like, we could be a Strokes fan album or fan podcast right now talking about their new record that just came out and having a miserable time. So like, just like putting it all in the context of like, no, like this was still really fun to go back to put on the turntable and to just experience and listen and soak it in, and all the little nuggets. And it doesn't seem like an album that's really like lived on past its moment, partially because I think because of COVID and some of those things, but it kind of feels like the band moved on from it quickly. Fans moved on from it quickly, and all those sorts of things. But I still really had a blast like coming back to it.
It's fun to revisit, and one thing that I love about this album, which is the case for every Switchfoot album, and really every album that just means a lot to me, is I feel like the album met me where I was, and it was the right album that I needed for that season. And anytime Switchfoot releases a new album, it becomes my favorite album as soon as it comes out.
Yeah.
And then with time, I kind of look back, and then after a couple years with it, then I'm kind of like, okay, so here's how I feel about it long term. But this is one of those that when it came out, it was what I needed. It was the right thing. It was the right time, and it was a Switchfoot album, and I was just excited to have the music. And revisiting it, though, has been a lot of fun because, like I said, it takes me back to a lot of those moments. I did a lot of driving and road tripping with this album, so I see a lot of scenery in my head when I play it, and just some of those memories that are kind of ingrained. And like I said, how some of these songs have kind of found a new life for me in context to my family, which is a lot of fun. So this one has been really fun to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's kind of what I think hope comes out of these podcast episodes is like, I just hope that people who listen go back to these albums and find something
Absolutely.
that they love that maybe they didn't know was there for them before, or rediscover them in a new way. And so, yeah, I hope through this conversation, even through maybe an album that maybe you dismissed or maybe you love, like whatever you're at with this record, I just hope that that you found something new to appreciate, and can maybe go back to it and hear it with some fresh ears and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and discover it in a whole new way.
Yeah. I have heard multiple people say that this was an album they disliked, and then over time it grew on them. So if that's you out there, if this was one that you wrote off immediately, maybe it's time for a second try
Come on.
and, give it another chance and see where it lands.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to episode 3 of Dare You to Podcast. We will be back with some more episodes, some bonus episodes potentially, as we've got some fun ideas and topics that aren't quite like album by album, but like are still worth talking about and thinking about. And so, yeah, we're excited to do those as well. Share it with your friends, share it with people in your life who love Switchfoot. I really appreciate you guys listening and hanging out with us for a little bit as we continue to go back through the discography. Next time, we'll be talking about Where the Light Shines Through, a 2016 record that it means a lot, I think, to all three of us will be on that podcast episode, and so very excited to jump into that one and kind of rediscover that album 10 years later, and hop into it. So Chase, thanks so much for joining me, my friend. As
Thank
always,
you for creating this podcast and having me be a part of it.
Yes, so fun. Again, thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time.